Good morning, ladies. Welcome to my studio, the Feltery. Today I'm going to give you that follow-up tutorial on how to make your moth legs out of paper Magi clay. So in your little packs you all received just a little ball of I think it's grey Magi clay that I had made up for you. You can make legs out of so many different things, but I figured this was the easiest way for all of you to do it. So I'm going to try and move this camera around and position it so that you can see what I'm doing and talk you through it. Okay, let's give this a go. All right. Hopefully you'll be able to see everything that's happening. All right, in front of me, what I've got is the Magi clay, and I know it says white, I've just got the wrong lid on. So it comes in packs. It comes in packs of 5, I think, or you can get just black or just white. So it depends if you want to use it or not. Some people just use wire. They spray paint wire black. That's an even easier way of making legs. But anyway, I'll run you through this. So I've got the black, I've got the white, and I've already just made up some grey, which you see I've got a little bit of white on that. That doesn't matter. I'm just going to smush it together. Put this away. Make sure you always put your lid back on your Magi clay. If you go down using the Magi clay path, it does dry out relatively quickly. I'd say within 10-15 minutes you're going to have your Magi clay starting to set on the outside of whatever you're making. So it should be nice and loose and easy to mold. Put that to one side. I've already pre-cut a little bit of wire, so I thought I might do that for the back legs, and the front legs I might do the same. So I'll just run through. You might need to buy yourself some little pliers if you haven't used these pliers before. This is the sharp bit at the end that will cut your wire. When you're choosing a wire, it doesn't really matter. I've probably cut that a little bit too short. But anyway, as long as you can bend it and mold it, for bigger projects, I would use a bigger wire, and I'd use my pliers to actually bend the wire just to make it easy. But for this one, all you need to do is use your fingers, and so literally just turning it into a U shape, okay? And then I push that one down, and I push that one down, all right? And then just at the end, actually I might use my pliers for this, otherwise all you're going to see is fingers. I just bend that up. That's the little feet. Get in there. Okay. So depending on how much you bend down and bend in, or you can even bend in and then bend out again, will give you your legs their movement. Okay, so once you've got your Magi clay onto these, you can play around with that. Just because your Magi clay has dried, it doesn't mean that it's too sturdy to bend and mold. It is still flexible. So all you need to do, I might use the other one, I'm going to do the back legs, is you don't need to use a lot of it. But as I was explaining to you in the tutorial, if you're doing fur or feathers or scales or hair, you work from the back forwards. So you cover your joins each time you add a new bit on. Okay, that's the only thing you've got to remember. So I'm going to just start with a blob. Okay, you got a blob. If you want to, you at this stage you can. You don't have to, but you can add a bit of texture into it with a tool. So there. Okay, a little bit of texture. All right, ready to roll. Then you're just pinching off little bits of the Magi clay. I tend to roll it in my fingers just so it's a bit neater, and then I squeeze it out. Okay, and then you add it on. You're just wanting to cover up the wire. That's all you're doing. I tend to put the joins facing down. Oop, my little foot's going to get caught. There we go. And then if I can, I try to move that out as long as possible, just so you're not using up all of your magic clay. Try to be economical. Okay, so you've got, that's your first little segment. Ooh, you can still see a bit of wire there, which I'll need to cover up. That's all right. Or do I? Does it really matter because it's going to be underneath? It's up to you. Okay, so you do the next one. Again, roll it into a little ball. Squeeze it out. Position it on top. And just pinch it over. Okay, that's as hard as it gets. It's really not a difficult process. So, you know, you can have these segments as close as you want or as far apart as you want. That's up to you. You may choose just to do this little bit and obviously that little bit, and not to do the rest, because the rest will be underneath your moth. And to attach it, remember we're saying either you could use, if you've got a hot glue gun, great, easy. If you don't, then I would probably just get needle and thread and stitch it on. If you're feeling adventurous, you could actually just lay it on, put a bit of felt over the top, and carefully needle felt around the wire. Okay, so there's a couple of different ways of doing it, and it's really up to you. Oop, I'm going to put that down. I might just do the other side. Okay, yeah, it's probably enough. And this stuff, it just sticks. It sticks to just about anything, especially if it's a porous surface. I mean, I know wire isn't porous, but it does adhere to it. If you're wanting to work with magic clay with tools, I would suggest tools that are metal. Like I've tried working with wooden tools. Yeah, it doesn't work so well. So wire or plastic is best for the magic clay. I'll just keep moving along. Being a little bit scabby, aren't I? I suppose you have to be, look at what you've done here and measure. This one's quite small. And that's okay. This one's going to be too big. I don't think it really matters. Sometimes I actually roll these up a little bit so they stand out a little bit more pronounced. That's the good stuff. You've got time to play with it. Like, it's not going to set on you straight away. You don't have to be anxious about it. And if you don't like it, just rip it off. You know, put it back into its little ball and have a little think about what you're doing and start again. Okay. So because I'm not sure what I'm doing, you know, this isn't for a specific moth, I'm probably not going to take it right up. If I wanted to cover the wire and be a little bit lazy, you could just add a coil around the wire. Okay. But again, I don't know. If it was me, I probably wouldn't. I think I was saying to you ladies the other day that I'm very undecided about whether to put legs on or not. I think make a leg, definitely make legs, and place it like a little cradle. You see that's already starting to look like a cradle that you can lie it on. So maybe if you're making a moth that you are going to put on a table or a bench, yeah, definitely. If you're going to make a moth that's hanging on a wall, I don't know if it's worth it. Or if if it's not sitting flat on your wall, just keep your legs straight. So actually just sit straight out. And it should, lie up against your wall quite nicely. But look, it's just playing with it. I'm showing you options. So I would let that then dry. I then get some cotton, just good old, cotton that you sew with. You can either go, I tend to go black with the grey because you see it, but it's a subtle effect. But you could go white, you could go red, any colour that you want. And you just wrap it randomly. And why do I do that? Well, it's just adding another layer, a bit of texture, a point of interest. That's all. When you've done that, and you're still not quite happy with the colour, because just having this one colour is actually quite a flat, tone. So there's nothing stopping you from getting a bit of watercolour paints, watering them down a bit, and just adding a layer of colour onto it. So with this one that I made, the example that I showed you, it was actually quite a light grey. And then it's very hard for you to see, but I actually put a very light wash of brown over that grey, and it's just muddied it up a bit. So it looks like a dirty moth. Okay. I've got a bit of black and I think a little bit of blue too. I was just mucking around and seeing what would work for me. And yeah, by all means, go for it. Do that. Have a play with everything that you do. Nothing is set in stone. Just because I've done it this way doesn't mean you should do it this way. If I didn't get to show you, ladies, these options. So there, I'll move the legs out of the way. So obviously, before I do that, so that could be your back legs. Do exactly the same for your front legs. And then depending on how you want to attach, if you're going down that path, you can just butt them up. All you need to see is the legs poking out from the front and the back. So depending on how long your moth is, they may not touch. You might want to spread them out and glue or stitch or felt. Okay, that's as hard as that gets. If you're not interested in the Magiclay, there are other options. This one I quite enjoy too. So me and my upcycling, this really suits my whole ethos. This was the material was the old doilies, embroidered doilies that I was talking to you about. My mum would stitch these. So the scraps from the doilies, again, I hang on to everything. And because they've already got starch in them, all I did was dip it in a bit of water, wrapped it around the wire, and then I wrapped the black cotton on top. Hopefully you can see that. And it gives you a really lovely texture. And then when it dried, it dries stiff. So that was a nice little experiment. I went, ooh, I like that. And I think, depending on the moth, I'd definitely do those legs with the upcycling of the doilies. I think that suits that a little bit better than the Magiclay. You can actually just get wire and wrap it in wool. So there are different ways of attaching wool to wire. You might read about if you got a pipe cleaner and you wrap that around the wire and then you wrap wool around that, the pipe cleaner hangs onto the wool. So that is a proven method. I tend to only do that if I'm working larger because it just adds bulk, okay? With this one, I got double-sided tape and just wrapped it around the wire, and then I wrapped my wool. For very small pieces, like thin, if you want thin antennae, I have just started using wax. And there are products out there that you can buy, and they're just wax products, and great. Buy them if you want to, but I've just ended up using any old wax. I think it was wax I had kept for encaustic painting, and it was just lying around. I went, I'll give that a go. It works. Okay, so I should actually try an old candle and see if the wax off an old candle. But if you've got, a kid at home that likes surfing, I'm sure he'll have wax for his surfboard. Any sort of wax, you just rub your wire up and down the wax, and then you start by wrapping your wool at one end. You kind of overlap the end. So you attach it, and you overlap, and then you work your way down, and you work your way back. So this one, I actually worked my way up and made this a bit thicker, and this is where it sort of stopped, and it's a bit fuzzy. And I would needle felt just that last little bit. Okay, if you didn't want to needle felt or it was too hard, you could just get a little bit of PVA glue that you've watered down, rub it in your fingers, and just smush it like that. Okay, and it'll stiffen the wool and stick the wool. Okay, so that's also another lovely way. If you're a bit of a purist and you want everything to be wool, that's definitely a way to go. The rest of the little things in here are the antennae. Oh, that was a nose. Just that. So I showed some of you the different antennae that you can have. Again, there's so many options. You could get feathers that you just cut down. So I just cut the feathery bits off that and left the shaft. Those bits you can stick in. Just do your little hole, whack a little bit of glue on the end, stick it into your piece. Okay. So depending on what your moth looks like, you might do something big and fluffy and robust. It might need some very robust antennae. So there are those. These are actually little bat wing ones that I had made for one of my moths. Okay. Again, they're just little ears. So you felt them up on your mat. Okay. And yeah, join them in. That's all. Really simple. These ones I just love. I think they're my favorite at the moment. So these are just the little shards off the material. So when I was making the pink, I'll show you these bits, your pink wings, these bits. This material loves just to peel off. So I went, ooh, I'm going to hang on to that because look at those. These are lovely. And it's as simple as, again, I think I wrapped these in the double-sided tape just to anchor it. And then just tied knots. Like I tied it once, tied that one, all the way down. And then I just wrapped one single strand there. But you can make these as big or as little as you wanted. So I think they're kind of cute and fluffy and antennae-like. So I'm in love with those. And, oh yeah, these are just, see how thin you can actually get? So this is with wax. It's almost just this very, very thin layer of wool on top. So they're a bit awesome, especially if you're working on moths or any bug that is small. You need to be able to get smaller and smaller and smaller. And then I just put this little piece in as well. So for legs, if you didn't want to just have a single wire or use the magic clay or any of the other options, this is just some floristry wire, I think, or jewelry wire. Very, very thin. And I've just wrapped it over and over and over on itself over and over again. And so you get this sort of crusty sort of little leg happening. So I quite think, oh, that could come in handy, especially like, to me, it looks like a bird's leg. Okay. So I think that's about it. Hopefully that has explained it all, or enough for you to finish off your little creatures. I would love to see them if you feel up to it. Send me through a picture and anything else that you're making, because it's, I don't know, it's just a lovely journey for everyone to go on. And now that we've all met, it'd be nice to stay in contact. So hopefully I'll be able to get hold of your email addresses and send this. I'll probably send a link to this site. And yeah, hopefully it'll help you out a bit. Oh, one last thing. Those mothballs, the dryer balls that I was playing with. I actually did a I did this yesterday, just playing with mistletoe. So, oh, they're just fun. You've got to get some of these balls, honestly, just from Kmart. $10 for 6 of them. So I did that one. I played with that. Yes, I like that. And then I started playing with a bird. So he's looking a bit Angry Bird, actually. I don't know if you know that game, but so he's got a very stumpy bum. I think for me to like it, I need to start doing a little bit more of this shading in here. He's got a little bit of brown and whatnot, and then attach his wing, and maybe have a tail that's sort of pointing up a little bit more, because he is very cartoony. But I know young kids would love this because it does look like that game Angry Birds, or it kind of reminds me of a Pokemon too. And then the last one I just started last night was the start of a bird, like a more realistic bird. So that will be, I think that's the bird's head. There we go. He's looking off to the side. And I'm going to have a little tail pointing up, and then smaller wings and maybe some legs. So anyway, hopefully that's been helpful. Like I said, stay in touch, and happy felting. Cheers.